We're doing the Sermon on the Mount, and we're in the book of Matthew. We're voyaging through the Bible. We're on a car ferry going from the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula and back again. Along with that, all of the Great Lakes it has a series of lighthouses. Originally, they were state-owned, and eventually the federal government took them over. They were set for two reasons. They were set to be guides away from shoals in the lake, and they were also set to rescue as agents in case ships got into trouble during stormy weather. The houses were usually remote areas. The ferry on the third floor had a dining room. It was set in such a way that they had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and also they had coffee and beverages and sandwiches off hours. Voyage through the Bible. This is a survey of the timetable from the beginning of time till time is no more. On a parallel with this story, we're going to be discussing the survey of the Christian life. As we go through these stories, we'll be looking at the enabling power of God to save the worst and the best, causing his great power to be a part of our lives. Matthew 6:19 through 24. Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth where moth and vermin can destroy, where thieves can break in and steal, but store up for yourself treasures in heaven where moth and vermin do not destroy, but where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body, and if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will love the one or hate the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Verse 19 speaks to the dangers of riches. There's a condemnation of greed and hoarding of wealth. It's God or mammon. The word mammon has to do with money or wealth. Be careful about how you store money and possessions. Moth and rust and thieves can rob you easily of your wealth. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as someone, Ecclesiastes 5:15, everyone who comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil that they can carry in their hands. Jesus did not abandon financial planning. In Proverbs 6 through 10, go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseers, no rulers, yet it stores its provisions in the summer and gathers its food in the harvest. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. In 1 Timothy 6:17, commands those that are rich in the present world not to be arrogant or to put their hope in wealth, but it is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything that we should enjoy. When it comes to thieving, houses were made of mud bricks so that it was comparatively easy to break into the house and steal things inside. Recognizing that the safety deposit box was a clay jar, you would put your possessions in it and seal it and dig a hole and bury it in a field. Two problems with this. A person forgot where they buried it, or they die and don't tell anybody about it. And in a situation like that, a different person could come and dig in the ground and find the clay container and claim all the possessions for themselves. We should have our treasure in heaven, which can be our reward. It's treasures of the heart. Storing with the lack of wisdom is selfishness and puts financial burdens on us. Joshua 7, Achan had an illegal treasury and ended up in judgment. The whole nation was to be judged, and his life was taken from him with all his possessions, and he was cremated, and a rock monument laid on top of him on his grave to explain the illegal treasury that he possessed. We should have expectations on those who have less than ourselves. In James 5, 4 through 6, look, the wages you fail to pay your workers who mow your fields are crying out against you. They cry of the harvesters who have reached the ear of the Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence, and you have fattened yourself in those days of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent ones who was not opposing you. Psalms 112:5. Good will come to those who are generous and lend freely to who conducts their affairs with justice. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. The generous will prosper. In 1 Timothy 6:18, command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. The rich sharing is a spiritual act. 2 Corinthians 6:7. Furthermore, this, whoever sows sparingly also will reap sparingly. Whoever sows generously will reap generously. Each of you gives what you decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly, not under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Sowing and reaping in verse 8 talks about motives. In Ecclesiastes 2:10 through 11, I deny myself nothing my eyes desire. I refuse my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward of all my toil. Yet when I surveyed all my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, as chasing the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Treasures gotten with greed. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. Generosity fills us with light, but wrong conclusions have their own. Generosity fills us with light, but wrong conclusions have their own production. It distorts our vision, and we do not see the whole picture. James 1:5. Whatever love of money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. In Romans 12:8, if it is to encourage, then encourage. If it is giving, then be generous. There's two visions. The seer is God's avenue to the heart. In verse 18, the Lord opens our eyes so that we can see. Verse 21, turns my heart so that it reflects you, O Lord. Turn my eyes from wandering. And Matthew 6:23 talks about setting our hearts, diagnostically in our hearts, self-examination. If my eyes are good, it is usually reflects that my heart is good. In 2 Corinthians 8:2, in the midst of a very severe trial, their overflowing joy of their extreme poverty welled up to rich generosity. No one can serve two masters. Serving two masters is slavery. Trusting manna instead of the Lord. In Proverbs 38, keep falsehoods and lies far from you. Give me neither poverty or riches. Give me only my daily bread. Otherwise I may have too much and disown you and say, who is the Lord? Hosea 13:6. When I led them, they were satisfied. When they were satisfied, they became proud. Then they forgot me. One of the evil connected to our treasure is living for the treasure or for the money. We live for the Lord and we live for the Lord and use our resources. The Bible refers to this as two-minded. The word is hypocrite. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others. Be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with a trumpet or like the hypocrites do. Good stewardship fixes us in a position to have a pipeline from heaven. In Luke 12:33, sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourself, and that will not wear out. A treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes in to destroy. I'd like to make a comment that we should never be overwhelmed with circumstances of wealth and money.